Hello everybody, I am Vitek from Wiresoul Studio and I would like to welcome you to another Blender tutorial. This time we will create animated rope that connects some predefined points in space. It's based on a commission I made for a client who needed the result to be adjustable in real time. That means no baking and no physics simulations. I decided to fake everything with animation nodes. You can find them in the description. Okay, challenge accepted, let's jump right into the Blender. As always, start with empty scene. It shouldn't be a surprise that we would need a curve to represent the rope and a couple of empties to connect. I will put the empties to a new collection, so when there is many of them, I will stay nicely organized. Give the rope a little bit of thickness and move on to the animation nodes. The same drill as always, create a new node tree and set the auto execution to only when something is changed. Okay, so what now? Usually the best way to create a node tree is to start from the end and then figure out whatever we need to achieve it. Well, in the end we definitely want to edit the curve. For that we need a curve object output node. Pick the rope and activate the spline. Let's create a new spline from points. And what points? Well, the locations of the empties. Add a to object transfer inputs and pick the empties. We can't just connect the locations to the points. We need to make a list from them. Just add a new node, from list, create vector. Connect everything together and you should finally see the result in the 3D viewport. Now we can animate the extensions. I've decided to not move anything anywhere and just fake it with bevel end of the curve. If you select the curve output node and go to its settings in the end panel, you can activate many more inputs. One of them is bevel end. If we feed it with values from 0 to 1, it will look like the curve is growing from one end to the other. Because I want this to be animated, I need to use the time info node. It's nothing more than number of the current frame. I like to convert the frame number to some specific value with the map range node. The input min and max is the start and end of the animation, and the output min and max is how the value will change. I want a fast rope, so the animation should take just a few frames. I can also play with the interpolation, but in this speed the effect won't be much noticeable. It doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look like a rope. The physics simulation is unfortunately off the limit, but we can still try to fake some gravity effect. If we go to the edit mode of the curve, you can see the Bezier handles. If we manage to put them to the center and a little bit down, we get exactly the shape we want. So back to the object mode and let's see what we can do in the animation nodes. In the spline from points node, there are inputs for the handles. So let's create two new vector lists and figure out what we need to plug there. The first vector is for left handle of the first point. This one doesn't affect the shape at all. I will plug there the first location to keep it clean, but you can put there whatever you want. The second one is the left handle of the second point, and this one should be right in the middle between the empties. There is several ways to get the middle point, but the easiest one is probably to use a vector mix node and set the factor to 0.5. Okay, the next one is right handle of the first point, and this one should be in the middle as well. And again, we don't care about the last one. We managed to place the handles in the middle. Now just move them down a little with a vector math node. It's nice, but the dip is always there and I want it to appear only after the rope connects the empties. I will animate it the same way I animated the bevel end, with the time info and map range nodes. But the result is only float and I need a vector, so place the combine vector in front of the vector math. The start of this animation should be the same as the end of the grow animation. Let's make it all dependent on one value. It's still missing some inertia. Let's overshoot the center on impact. We just need to animate the factor value that dictates where is the center of the rope. we can pretty much copy the animation of the dip, just with different output values. Unfortunately, there isn't any interpolation preset that would suit our needs. Let's make our own interpolation from curve. You can play with this curve as you want, but the general idea is that you start at 0, quickly shoot to the 1, and then somehow get back to the 0 at the end. Well, the rope is pretty much done. But what if we wanted to connect more than 2 empties? Create bunch of empties in the point collection. Now we can add a collection info node. Select the points collection and put the object to object transform input. Well, we have all the locations we need, but stretching the rope through all of them would be too complicated. So I will take the one I've prepared to connect 2 points and duplicate it bunch of times. I don't want to manage the duplicates every time I add or delete the empties, so I will let all the work on the animation nodes. Duplication will manage the object instancer node. Check the deep copy because every rope segment will have different spline shape. So how many instances we actually need? One less than there is empties. Count the number of locations with getLength and subtract 1. Okay, we have enough ropes now. And to apply all the settings we created earlier, we just need to put them through the loop. Create a new loop with object list iterator, give everything a nice name and connect the objects to the curve object output. Everything that we did earlier should change color and now it's part of the loop. We can use the loop now and connect the instance curves. It doesn't look like much changed, and that's because all the ropes are in the same place doing the same thing. We need to feed the loop with all the empties locations. Find the loop input and create a new parameter, not iterator. Now we need to switch the empty and empty001 we used before with elements from our new list of points. Add 2 getElement nodes, connect the points and choose the indices. The first index will be the same as the rope index and the second one will be 1 higher. Back where we are using the loop, connect the locations and see how it looks. Awesome! We just need some time offset for each rope segment. Now all segments arrive to the target at 10th frame. Let's multiply this value with the index. Almost done. Just remember that the index starts from 0, so in the first frame the first segment is already there. Let's offset it by 1. Really amazing about this setup is that it can handle any list of vectors we throw at it. Let's try the monkey head just for fun. Add the mesh input node, randomize the vertex locations and plug it to our setup. Well, back to our empties. It would be nice to have some knots on them. Let's model one really simple. Then instantiate it same as the rope, but this time we don't need a deep copy and we need the same number of them as the empties. So far we don't need any loops, just a simple object transform output will do. Locations are super easy, they are the same as the empties, the rotation can be just random. Only the scale needs to be in the loop. Create a new one and iterate through object list again. Put there another transform output and activate the scale. The scale will be just vector from value. And we will animate this value. So as you already know, time info and map range. The start of this animation will be exactly the same as for the ropes, 10 times the index. And the end will be just few frames later. Connect the new loop and the setup is done. I will just finish it with simple material. Because it has to run in real time, I will switch now to EV. Create a new material and place it on the knot and the rope. Because we are using deep copy for the rope, the material is not instantiated. We can solve it still in the animation nodes with object material output. Now switch to the shader editor and create whatever material you want. Wave texture and nice HDR lighting should do the trick. I hope you found this tutorial useful. Thank you very much for watching and till the next time, happy blending!